Buenas tardes, bienvenidos una vez más al canal de YouTube del Instituto Cervantes de Leeds y Manchester. Good evening and welcome once again to the YouTube channel of the Manchester and Leeds Institute Cervantes. Today we are pleased to present a new event in our series on bilingualism, featuring the lecture titled Artificial Intelligence Has Come to Stay, Harnessing the Power of AI in Our Languages Curriculum, Teaching a Language Classroom by Eva Rodríguez González, who is Associate Professor in the Department of Spanish and Portuguese at the University of New Mexico in the United States. Dr. Villa Garcia will later introduce Eva Garcia González in more detail. But first of all, thank you for both of you, to our audience as well, but for you for accepting our invitation from Instituto Cervantes. It's a great honor to have you with us today. And as I mentioned, always this series we are in the last third year of this successful series, and the bilingualism, which is a reality in every country nowadays. And by this series, what we are trying to support the idea and the advantages of bilingualism in many aspects. The primary objective of this program is to highlight the many benefits of bilingualism. Being bilingualism goes beyond merely knowing two languages. It opens the doors and to the worlds of opportunities. First, bilingualism strengthens the brain. It's something that we have been analyzing in some of the lectures of this series. It enhances cognitive abilities such as problem solving, multitasking, and memory. Bilingual individuals often exhibit also better focus and mental flexibility, which might even delay cognitive decline in later years. Another very important point which has been in this series analyzed. Academically, bilinguals tend to excel, and studies indicate that they perform better in resolving critical thinking and even learning additional languages. Bilingualism sharpens the mind and contributes to the academic success. Socially, also, is very important to mention that bilingualism allows us to connect with people from diverse cultures. It not only fosters stronger relationships, but also deepens our appreciation of diversity. Being able to navigate in different languages and cultures develops empathy and promotes global understanding. Finally, professionally, also bilingualism provides a competitive advantage. It creates more jobs opportunities, increases earning potential, and enhances career mobility in today's global economy. In summary, bilingualism serves as a pathway to improve brain health, stronger social connections, academic achievements, and better career prospects. Research shows that bilingualism also in children develops a new understanding of the reality and is very positive for their future. From a traditional point of view, it was considered until middle of 20th century as a challenging situation for the children's bilingual to get to know and to develop their skills in two different languages. But what has been proved, and as have already mentioned, is so many advantages for adults, but especially for children, to the fact of being bilingual. Today's topic focuses on artificial intelligence and education, a new reality full of advantages, but also with many challenges. As we integrate the artificial intelligence in our languages, curriculums, and classrooms, we must do so thoughtfully and with responsibility. The potential is great to revolutionize many aspects, but with referring to language learning, offering personalized tutoring, interactive experience, but also this potential comes with some challenges that we must not overlook. There are issues of equity, privacy, the evolving role of teachers, and the reality of the artificial intelligence systems. It is for the whole society, but especially for the public institutions to approach the artificial intelligence, to put it as a tool of empowerment to improve the education, but not by creating also a certain dependency. Those are some of the ideas that will be explored in today's event. And before I pass to the word to the coordinator of the series, Julio Villa-Garcia, I will introduce him. Julio Villa-Garcia is the coordinator of the series and is a senior lecturer in Spanish linguistics and syntax in the Department of Linguistics and English Language at the University of Manchester, and currently is Maria Zambrano senior researcher at his alma mater, the University of Oviedo. During his PhD at the University of Connecticut, Dr. Villa-Garcia trained as a theoretical syntactician and language acquisitionist, working within the framework of minimalism. His current interests include Spanish Romance, English linguistics, as well as child language acquisition, bilingualism, and the application of theoretical linguistics to foreign and second language pedagogy. And without further ado, Julio, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Pedro. Thank you, everyone, for being here, and welcome back. Welcome to the first talk of this academic year. This is part of the 2024 edition of our Bilingualism series, organized by the Instituto Cervantes of Manchester and Leeds in coordination with the University of Oviedo, and more specifically, the Lingual Group, the Theoretical Linguistics Group. As you know, it's now the fourth edition of this cycle, of this series. And today, as Pedro anticipated, we focus on a topic that has not been touched upon so far, artificial intelligence and education, by Eva Rodríguez González. Professor Eva Rodríguez González is professor in the Department of Spanish and Portuguese at the University of New Mexico in the United States, more specifically in Albuquerque. She teaches seminars, graduate seminars in particular on second language acquisition, applied linguistics. She has extensive experience training in college language instruction. Additionally, she is special assistant to Dean College of Arts and Sciences for Outcomes and Assessment at New Mexico. She has a lot of experience on teaching and assessment. Professor Rodríguez González has recently been promoted to full professor, so I would like to take advantage of this opportunity to personally congratulate her on this great academic achievement. Eva, if I may, studied in her native Galicia, more specifically at the University of Santiago de Compostela, and also at the University of Kansas in the United States, where she received her PhD back in 2006. She's worked in several United States tertiary education institutions, especially at New Mexico, where she's currently a faculty member. And as far as her research is concerned, Professor Rodríguez González has published articles on language teaching, metacognitive learning strategies, and Spanish-English processing of adult bilinguals. In addition to book-length projects, the many journal articles she's produced have come out in journals are prestigious, including Language, Isogloss, International Journal of Bilingualism, Journal of Second Language Teaching and Research, and Hispania, amongst many others. So we are here to listen to Eva, and therefore I'll stop right now. But before giving the floor to our distinguished speaker today, I'd like to ask you to please join me in welcoming her. Thank you very much to the Instituto, and thank you very much to Eva as well. So Eva, the floor is now yours.
Thank you. Welcome, everybody. Thank you, Instituto Cervantes in Manchester and Julio for such a warm welcome. And I receive all of this with being thankful and honored to be here, and especially sharing a work in progress, I should say, about something that is actually pressing in my daily professional life, which is the artificial intelligence in language classrooms. Am I ready now to share? Okay. So let me start by saying, and this is a full disclosure, this is something artificial intelligence right now in language teaching. It has getting a lot of momentum here in the United States. Students are using it. Students are not acknowledging that they're using it. Faculty and multiple teaching assistants, they are concerned about how to address the use of artificial intelligence by students in language classrooms. And this is where I am. As a language teaching coordinator, I have that responsibility and that commitment to actually train myself on this and get a little bit out of my comfort zone and get a growth mindset approach, and experience a little bit what it means to use it in language teaching and see if we can get or we can have some potential for it. Understanding that there's a lot of concerns. Let me start by saying that my examples and everything that I will share throughout the slides, you will have different resources. The examples are based on the United States, and I will mention sometimes American Council of Teaching Foreign Languages because that's kind of the platform that we operate in many of our language teaching programs. But this can be easily applied to the Common European Framework and European settings. Okay, so artificial intelligence has been for years here with us, but now is getting a lot of momentum and is rapidly changing, working and thinking in our daily lives. The language profession is no different from others. In healthcare, now there are some of the tests that we normally perform as patients are confirmed. The results are confirmed quicker, just because of the use of artificial intelligence to support administrative tasks and tests. Nurses, doctors, they use it on a daily basis when they see patients, just to give them time to actually talk to the patients. So some of the logos in healthcare right now here in the United States are see the patient, not the technology. So artificial intelligence is taking that space for the technology, coding, checking things for insurance, providing summaries of what the doctor and the nurse is actually saying to the patient. Same thing or similarly, it applies to the legal law firms. Are actually embedding the use of artificial intelligence in complicated cases where they have lots of paperwork. Artificial intelligence helps to look for specific evidence in those piles of pages and pages of evidence, and also is used as a marketing strategy for clients. And I'll give you an example of what it means. Some artificial intelligence tools, they're very good at capturing in a video, like our gestures, our speech, and they can actually embed our voice with our gestures and how we're communicating. They can send a message in multiple languages. That's how some of the law firms right now, they're reaching out to other clients that they do not speak necessarily English. In our language profession, we already have some conferences from 2018 that are emerging about adaptive learning with English language teaching, and now with other languages are actually employing, using a lot of time and effort in this. Some of the major editorial companies for Spanish language teaching, they are already including artificial intelligence in their platforms to help instructors and students. So it's here, it's getting more momentum, and it's staying, meaning it's here for a reason, for a purpose, and hopefully today we can address how we can approach it in our language profession. Today we will explore that potential of artificial intelligence to enhance, complement, not to substitute, to enhance language instruction and student engagement. We will describe sample prompts and assignments in language teaching, and we will also identify and discuss together, hopefully, some concerns regarding the ethics, accessibility, and our teacher roles as humans behind communication. At the end of this presentation, I hope that we will be able to identify, each of us or all of us, 3 tasks that artificial intelligence can help you or us in language teaching. Maybe pilot something, use AI tools to assist language teaching and learning. Write prompts in presentation, speaking, or writing that include or delineate the use of the artificial intelligence. And last but not the least, we think about the way we are assessing the use of artificial intelligence in language classrooms. What is artificial intelligence? I decided just to have a visual, just to see sometimes things from another perspective. Is normally defined as the capacity given by humans. We are the ones who actually build all of this, to machines to memorize and learn from experience, to think and create, to speak, to judge and make decisions. This is a business and is growing rapidly. And what I mean by that is getting more sophisticated as we speak. Last year, ChatGPT is not the same as this May 2024 application. So it's getting more adult. That's what it means in this world of artificial intelligence. Adult versions of artificial intelligence, they're more sophisticated. They can capture artificial intelligence detectors, and they can actually erase that. So for students, they can be using artificial intelligence to actually submit things for our classes, and they already can actually ask AI to erase any detecting piece of artificial intelligence. With all of this, it comes equity and access to it. Not everyone can actually have access to a paid subscription of artificial intelligence applications. And that's where things may be a little bit complicated for all of us if we embrace it in our language teaching. This will be my first resource that I share with you. I hope this is helpful for you. This is a book written by Jose Antonio Bowens and his colleague. It's called Teaching Naked. You see over there the logo, and I highly recommend that you check one of the areas in the black section of the picture that it says borrow. In that borrow subsection, you will find templates, you will find prompts, you will find rubrics, you will have a lot of resources to play with as you also maybe you venture to try some of the artificial intelligence tools yourself first, and then you can actually use these templates or samples for your teaching later on. He identifies 3 main ones, 3 big artificial intelligence tools used in teaching. Claude is a very sophisticated one right now. ChatGPT is getting sophisticated versions. We have now ChatGPT 4. Gemini is by Google. So if you have Gmail, if you're using Google, you will see very soon, if not yet already, you will see Gemini application as embedded in your Google. So for instance, in Gmail, you can use artificial intelligence, Gemini, to help you to craft some messages to students, for instance. It can help to polish your English writing. It can help you to send a message that fosters inclusivity in your classroom. You can already use that Gemini in Google. Similarly, Copilot is owned by Microsoft. So if right now you buy a laptop, a new computer, and you have Microsoft on it, Copilot will be embedded into it, and it's quite good. It's quite good doing the same things that I told you about. It can create sophisticated PowerPoint presentations. It can help you with emails, and that's those Gemini and Copilot, they're getting a lot of momentum here in the United States because of Microsoft and Google. Grammarly has been through the years, and lots of students use Grammarly. It's getting more sophisticated too. And now the content, if students use Grammarly for their papers, for instance, the content can actually bypass the artificial intelligence detectors. Turnitin is one baby version of it. So once again, with a paid subscription, you can actually bypass all these detectors. Open sources, you have Meta AI. For those of you who have an iPhone, in your WhatsApp, or at least here in the United States, we have in your WhatsApp iPhone users, you have a logo around a blue little circle that it's already there. It doesn't require any login. It's like you're chatting, and you can ask a lot of questions. You can get lots of information there. And I'll use an example later on in a slide of one thing that I used Meta AI for, and for my teaching. I'll give you an example. Very recently, for fall 2024, the Association of American Colleges and Institutions in the United States, they released a student guide to navigate college in the artificial intelligence area. This is a guide for students, and many of us, we are asking students to read that guide in online classes primarily. I gave you I shared there the URL links just to see if you're interested. So artificial intelligence in education, especially in our fields, their objectives is to improve student engagement, personalize learning, speed up our administrative tasks, generate curriculum. It can actually generate syllabus and specific calendars with a specific textbook in mind, strengthen feedback to students and to instructors too. Some of the major editorials in language teaching, they already have tools for getting in Spanish, for instance, a summary of patterns of language use in Spanish so that instructors can address these patterns and help struggling students. They can provide one-on-one student support 24/7, which is something that sometimes instructors were not available for. And that's pretty much the summary for education, meaning it's not necessarily related or limited to language teaching. In our case, there are some pros that I summarize there for us in the language learning from the student's perspective. It can complement language classroom experiences and support beyond class time. So one of the examples is a personalized language learning paths. You have some examples, you have it on the right. Lingua, Babel, Duolingo, Grammarly, SpeechLink. They are adaptive to the level of proficiency each student is on, or each learner is on. So that's already something that is giving some equity and access to language learning. Intelligent language tutoring systems where they can chat. The artificial intelligence tool can actually chat with the student. There's no judgment. There's no anxiety to talk or to share, to make mistakes. That's something that we don't have it in the language classroom. Automated language translation and transcription tools. They're not as sophisticated sometimes, but it definitely helps tremendously to people who need to have subtitles who need to have translations, especially with multilingual learners. It does provide adaptive assessments that sometimes for us in instruction, we're not that ready to do, because we have a lot of students in our classrooms. It does provide improved accuracy and feedback. Artificial intelligence tools, they can actually give feedback on the spot and summarize for you as a learner the feedback constructively, with no judgment, no grades, and also increase accessibility. There are students that they can use some of the artificial intelligence tools to have exchange conversation partners without going abroad. So for us in the language teaching, some of this overlap with the language learning. For us as language instructors, we could increase our efficiency and making learning more engaging and accessible. Access to authentic language materials and teaching resources. It may take us a lot of time to Google things and find lesson plans. Artificial intelligence can do it in less than a minute for us with a little bit of guidance from us. Language learning can be actually accessible to diverse populations, young learners, professionals. We don't have, as humans and language teachers, sometimes we don't have that capacity, broader capacity to reach out to different ages and professions. Support for language learning with accessibility features. Artificial intelligence tools, they can provide different font sizes, automated transcriptions for different needs. Transcriptions, translations, as I said, for language learning is the same to assist learners with diverse linguistic backgrounds as well, especially the multilingual kind of profiles. Cultural sensitivity training, artificial intelligence, they can provide guidance with visual aids or kinesthetic based on the preference of the student or the language instructor. If they provide accessible, or we can provide accessible platforms, we have some collaboration artificial intelligence tools that can help us in language teaching with underserved populations. So for instance, if you are a language instructor that you want to promote, and we promote study abroad, artificial intelligence can help us with the students that cannot actually go abroad for different reasons. So artificial intelligence with collaboration between the student and the artificial intelligence tool can actually facilitate that access for opportunities for these kind of students. How can the artificial intelligence can help us in language teaching? So I approach this as, let's identify the kind of tasks that we normally do in teaching. So I just listed some of them there. A course syllabus design, that's something that I need to do for all the my teacher assistants. A calendar following a specific book with 16 weeks, with 8 weeks, with 4 weeks, intensive courses. I have to do lesson planning. I have to create assignments. I have to draft emails to students. Sometimes I have to actually express some concern in my email about performance. Sometimes I need to do a boost of encouragement after a low grade, for instance. That's something that we normally engage with. I write there others. Maybe you can actually in our comment session. That's where we can identify what are the things that normally we do. We write reports. In my case, I have to do assessment reports of student language proficiency, of teaching effectiveness. And with that in mind, I pause here for a second to ask myself and hopefully yourself, Would I want an assistant for all of this? Yes. My answer is yes. And that's where I see the first potential of artificial intelligence for us. I write there, you have it on the left, on the right margin, sorry, the live chat and a URL for resources for us. How we can actually ask artificial intelligence to help us with all of this. I invite you to pilot, to practice a little bit, and I can only guarantee you that you will be surprised to see what is it that they can do, this artificial intelligence tool. With that in mind, I invite you to actually try with a paid subscription because it's more sophisticated. But you can actually start, if you have never started, you can start with a free one and see where you can get. You will, I'm pretty sure I can anticipate this. At the very beginning, you get very generic things. But as you actually polish your requests to the artificial intelligence tool, the answers can be more sophisticated as you become more explicit as well. So the cons of using artificial intelligence in our language learning and teaching, for those of you who are kind of on the verge, you identify this right away. So, one of them will be limited contextual understanding. The artificial intelligence does not guess, does not know where you're coming from when you're asking a request. Human beings, we do. So that's where we can compensate that. It can perpetuate a system bias. And I'll give you an example about this. Artificial intelligence will give you answers based on whatever is feeding the information. So if textbooks, they primarily use examples or from a specific dialect, for instance, in a language, artificial intelligence can keep providing examples about that because that's the feeder, that's what it's being fed. With minority regional dialects, it will not be captured that much by AI because AI has not been fed with that data. So that's where we have a lot of opportunities for us, the human teaching, right? The human piece of all of this in learning and teaching, to say AI is limited. And AI sometimes may not give you the right information. Lack of human touch, for instance, artificial intelligence doesn't have empathy, does not provide emotional support. It can definitely help to write emails and to send messages that communicate that, but it doesn't do it for us. And human interaction. AI does not provide that. And the word here that is crucial is human, the human interaction piece. There's a lot of depersonalization. Where is the instructor in the class if we're going to go to all of this, right? We do have a teacher in the class and we do have specific roles. That's the human piece of all of this. And caution with using artificial intelligence in language teaching and learning, it may be as well based on the over-reliance on technology. So we over-rely so much on use these platforms, use these books, use these tools, that we may not have that much space in a language classroom to actually do what only humans can do, which is interaction, providing that cultural sensitivity sometimes. I chose an image there that it was from an AI tool. And as you see, I'll read it. This content is as generated. It's not generated. Pablo, this is one example for you maybe that we can actually explain that is misspelled by AI. That's the caution behind it. you need to know yourself enough to actually detect when AI is making some errors. Here's another resource, a visual one for all of us when we approach this in language teaching. In order to feed and request something in an artificial intelligence tool, we have to set the scene. We have to be very specific of what we want. We have to simplify our language. Sometimes the verbs that are measurable help better. For instance, the word create. Create an engaging lesson plan that aligns with whatever I need to do for my accreditation teaching standards, for instance. Structure the output, give instructions on the AI of what you want, create a rubric for my students, formatted a table with directions. That's a very specific. And then share the feedback. Provide feedback of all points in the conversation. Share specifics of what needs to be revised to meet your needs. With AI, you will see like a conversation record where you ask something. I have this presentation, I'm attaching this presentation on PowerPoint. Could you revise my English for grammar, spelling? And then you can keep going. Okay, now add a slide that talks about this. So AI is smart to actually capture the flow of the conversation and go from different versions. Then at the end, you can actually copy paste all that conversation in a Word document, and you have access to all the versions that have been provided to you, and it tracks the conversation. This is important for us. If we're going to use it in our language teaching, we can ask students to submit that record of the conversation with artificial intelligence. Here are two samples. I didn't write them. They were created by Kate. This is a Spanish language professor in Wisconsin, and she used different artificial intelligence tools to do some requests for her teaching. Let me see if I can read them. One of them we use in the Microsoft Copilot. You're a skilled Spanish professor who is very good at finding interesting articles in Spanish on the internet that your beginning language students can read. Please find, that's a very concrete example, 3 articles in Spanish about Dia de los Muertos, the Day of the Dead, celebrations that students in their 3rd semester of language could understand, very specific. Then provide an outline of the information in each article so that students can use that outline to take notes as they read the article. As you see, setting the scene, be very specific, and structure the instructions. And she got answers for it. In ChatGPT, you are a very dynamic Spanish professor who is very good at creating engaging lesson plans for in-person classes. Please develop a lesson plan for 1-hour class meeting and assume that students have studied ser and estar, the verb to be, before coming to this class session. There are 20 students in the class. Start by listing the learning objectives in a can-do statements. Then develop active learning activities that will help the students to stay actively engaged in class. I want to include some questions or prompts for a brief anonymous poll using poll everywhere. So please provide 5 multiple choice or true/false questions for me to use. The answer of this lesson plan is provided in less than a minute. This is an example of the prompt on the left and what you get in less than a minute. You have different activities with different tasks, with a travel brochure, with a comparative video diary, with a leisure activity infographic, a pastime storyboard, a global pastime survey based on the prompt that we, human language teachers, we actually provide to these artificial intelligence tools. Then, of course, the teacher will read it, will read what it has been created, that lesson plan, and will actually edit. So for me, the way I see it, it has potential. I'm using one example here of something that I did myself. I have an iPhone, so I have in WhatsApp the Meta, that blue icon on the left upper corner of your screen. That's where you use it. Meta, the Meta artificial intelligence is using right now Llama version 3, so it's getting more sophisticated. So I ask Meta, can you design a prompt for a presentation and speaking activity in a Spanish language class with novice high based on American Council of Teaching Foreign Language guidelines? Can you design the prompt? That's what I got in less than a minute. The objective, the instructions, task-driven, the vocabulary that it will be used, guiding questions, the assessment criteria. And I ask in a second version of my request, I said, okay, now incorporate the use of artificial intelligence to this prompt. And that's what I got, the information in red. It actually said, optionally, students can use artificial intelligence powered tools to actually prepare this. And the technical requirements, it will be to record the presentation and submit the recording and a brief written reflection on their experience. Then I asked, create a rubric to assess this speaking prompt I just asked you to create. That's what I got. Content, 30 points, language use, 25 points, AI integration, 20 points, technical requirements, 25 points. And then with numbers, with for grades from 0 to 100. And then it's actually capturing the holistic grading. Exceed expectations, meet expectations, needs improvement, fails to meet expectations. If you see in the square section, you see how the integration, the artificial intelligence, if they use it, now is going to be assessed. I want to highlight there the reflection of the use of the artificial intelligence. You can ask students to reflect about the benefits. They have to document and acknowledge what they actually used. They have to provide the documentation, what I told you a minute ago about copy-paste the conversation with Meta, in this case, copy-paste all of it, and then give me a reflection about how you used it. This can be submitted in a Word document. If you're going to go that route, exploring and doing, trying artificial intelligence to help you, which I want to pause for a moment to actually say and share with you that I thought it did pretty good. For a 1 minute production, this will take me way much more than a minute, for sure. And it was already quite good. I just had to create it, edited something, but I was actually quite surprised and impressed at the same time with the output. If I'm going to use that, if I'm going to allow students the use of artificial intelligence in my classrooms, I have to make sure that I create a policy so that they understand it and I understand it. I accept the use, I welcome the use of AI policy, the artificial intelligence, in my language class, but there are some boundaries for me. And the boundaries for me, that's what I call I will have a moderate approach to the inclusion of artificial intelligence in my language course. I'll start by being positive. I want to create an artificial intelligence friendly zone in this course where we can work together and support with your own skill development in X language, in whatever language it is. You can talk to me about how you're using it without fear of punishment in the course. Why? Because I already have that rubric that would actually say what I expect from students. If at any time in the course, the use of artificial intelligence is overshadowing your learning in the course, I may ask you to redo activities or tasks. I give you here a screenshot of one of these documents that I highly invite you to explore from Jose Antonio Bowen's Teaching Naked website. It has samples of how you could draft this policy. I'll read the first one in sample 2. Teamwork and its acknowledgement are highly valued in most careers, while taking credit for the work of others is equally loathed. Justice and your personal reputation grow when you share credit. Integrity begins by disclosing what help, tools, techniques, and technology you used. Films, books, articles, and company reports that include acknowledgements of how the work was created. That's just one example of things that you could actually include. And it has a disclosure agreement for the students. I did all this work with assistant, without assistant. I put it on the right here, a summary of the instructions for students. 3 steps. Check with me if the assignment, homework, or assessment can be completed or not with the support of artificial intelligence. If the artificial intelligence tools is allowed, track your conversation with the tool by cutting and pasting the interaction in a document that you can share with me, the instructor. And the step number 3, cite the use of artificial intelligence tool. For this assignment, I've used ChatGPT version 4, something like that. Here's an example of what I crafted, and I'm going to actually implement this with my teachers. Let's see how it goes. We decide that we will allow Duolingo, Babel, Grammarly, SpeechLink, conversational exchange. These are the artificial intelligence that I mentioned at the very beginning of this talk. We will be okay with all of that. It has responsibilities. It has the content that has some limitation. I actually highlight that we prioritize human interaction and original creativity. This is a language class. Human interaction is upfront. And do not use artificial intelligence for some things there. I think it's pretty clear. We ask the students to acknowledge, to read it, that they understood it, and sign it. Let's see how it's going to work. Maybe in a year I can actually tell you how it's working. But at least this is embracing it, but it has some boundaries. So that's what I call it moderate use. I allow it, but not in all instances. And I need to know. And that's part of the ethics, right? The ethics will be starting with the attribution. This paragraph, image, video was generated using this version of 2024 and edited for clarity, for precision, for specific context. I'm including a screenshot of the chat with such artificial intelligence tool. All considerations from ethics derive from 3 principles. An artificial intelligence cannot pass the course. Artificial intelligence contributions must be attributed and true. And artificial intelligence use should be open and documented. And I inserted there one section of a syllabus, a sample that I read recently regarding the use of AI and crafting a syllabus with AI, and it's regarding facticity. Besides inventing sources, generative artificial intelligence may invent facts as well. For instance, in corpus data may invent actually examples. Verification is your responsibility. Submitting factually raw material is an academic academic offense and whether the source of the error is you or the artificial intelligence makes no difference. You need to check the facts, the quotes, the arguments, the logic, and the document that you did to validate your material. That's where we should ask about a written reflection of the use of the artificial intelligence. In conclusion, I invite you all to take AI for a spin. You can use a free subscription. Explore yourself first. Multiple AI powered language learning tools. Pilot some samples. Assess yourself first. How restrictive, permissive, or moderate you will feel with the use of artificial intelligence in your language courses. I have to say that I started as restrictive. That's when I approached this. I started as, no, I'm going to ignore it. I'm not going to allow it. And create your own policy for use or non-use. Thank you. Gracias. And let's see what kind of questions, comments you have. And I leave you there. Not a quote. It's actually a headline for an article here in the United States from last year that 49% of students in college are using artificial intelligence in their classrooms, for their courses. More than 75% of faculty members, we don't regularly use it, but whoever out of these 75% that they don't use it, there's another set of faculty that they use it and they're familiar with it. They all acknowledge that it's important to actually embrace it because we're preparing students to actually normalize that, but with ethics and in mind. Thank you, and I hope you have questions, comments, and it's okay that you don't like it or you're avoiding it or you're afraid of it. It's okay.
Thank you so much, Eva. This is a lot of food for thought, and it's very interesting, I think, and this is a nice illustration of this claim that if you cannot defeat your enemy, you should make him your friend, right? So I think this is a very good example of exactly that, how artificial intelligence can come in handy, actually. And I was very impressed by, how detailed it can be, how thorough, right? Very impressed, yeah. So I'm not sure if there are questions. I'm pretty sure there are. If you want to write your comments, if you want to raise your hand and unmute yourself, please feel free to do so. Eva is looking forward to your views, or if there's any point that needs further clarification or exemplification. You can also ask in Spanish if you want.
Thank you very much. I have a question regarding the work produced by the students. When you said, it's even more popular nowadays, the use of artificial intelligence. How do the teachers evaluate the works that have been prepared with the help of the artificial intelligence? Because until now, traditionally, the essays are based on your personal analysis and your research through reading, constructing your ideas, and a big part of this process is being more efficient probably by artificial intelligence. But in that sense, I think it poses a challenge, because how could we evaluate the capacity or the deep understanding from the students of the subject when it has been produced with the help of the artificial intelligence, or directly from the artificial intelligence and supplanted by the students?
Thank you. Thank you very much for your question. And that's part of these discussions. How do we assess it, right? It is very important that we play with it first, with some content that we are very familiar with. So I'll start by saying that how I started with recipes. That's an area with Galician recipes. That's an area that I was very familiar with. So I started asking, and I identified some areas where some of the information was odd. And that's the beginning of all of this. You have to start playing with it in areas that you feel very comfortable. So for instance, if this is the first time that you're teaching and you have not that much experience with lesson planning, do not rely on artificial intelligence for a lesson plan, because you are not equipped to assess how factual and how good that is, right? So you have to have experience and familiarity with the content that you're going to be actually choosing. That's one thing. The actual documentation, if you ask students, give me the cut and paste conversation with artificial intelligence, I want to see what you did. That's what you see, how the student is getting sophisticated with the questions. And that's where you see the constructive feedback on the feeder, on the artificial intelligence saying, I reduced this paragraph for clarity, and I've done this, this, and this. That's what you get in the artificial intelligence tool. I reduce your paragraph by doing this, this, this. And now you have more precision. And then you keep going, right? The student keeps going and say, I need to include a vocabulary from chapter 3. Here's my vocabulary list. Can you actually polish my paragraph? You can see all of that. The instructor, because you are asking for the evidence, you can see all the thread. What is important here for assessment is that you ask students for a written reflection of how much the use of artificial intelligence has helped them for this assignment. And you ask for details. Identify, give me an example where the artificial intelligence has edited something and you thought it was odd, or you thought that you have been explained differently. If you have heritage language learners and speakers in the class, artificial intelligence may actually be confirming through them that there is a lot of bias, and artificial intelligence may be used with caution. Why? Because the feedback that artificial intelligence gives, sometimes it perpetuates that bias. It actually says something like, don't use how would I say it? Don't use this form, this grammatical form, use the other one. Or I deleted the vos sabes, and I wrote it tú sabes. That is already a human interaction from a teacher that needs to happen, that AI is not capturing at all, and it's being prescriptive, actually. But once again, you have to have experience in the content to actually intervene. So the assessment is documentation and also the reflection. And I will end this question by saying, it's not that we have to assess, it's not that I have to see what they use, what they commented, just the fact that they are talking they're chatting, right, with an artificial tool, and they're polishing their requests. This is already helping them to articulate better their thoughts, to actually articulate a question, to actually be specific about a question. That helps the students to be specific, sequence things, and be detailed oriented. And with that, I think it already has a benefit if a student is already doing it.
But articulate the thought, the ideas is an effort, and it's like, so we say, like the gymnastics is by doing that you learn. And I have personally some doubts that if the advantages are great, but there is also the risk that this articulation comes from the artificial intelligence. It is in a certain way supplanting what should have been done from my personal efforts and my thoughts and the articulation of my ideas. it's maybe I am a bit biased of what I think, but it's something that is like memorizing. I have not the discourse that any time before was better than nowadays, but before we used to memorize poetry, for example. That is something really unusual nowadays. And by that, people tend to have a stronger memory than nowadays. So the technology helps, but at the same time, we limited our capacities in a certain way.
Yes, I agree. But that's how we learned, right? I learned that way. I memorized a lot when I was little. That's how I've been educated or raised, right? With lots of memorization, even with math. Math instructors, they're very similar to us on this, right? Why? Because students are using artificial intelligence to provide answers, but students are not describing the process to actually how they reach the answers, right? And they memorize formulas and in algebra and calculus, you name it. But that's not how they are learning right now. That's not how this generation is learning right now. They have not been exposed to memorization themselves. So for them, even the activity of memorization is not something that they are very familiar to. I think that we need to be realistic about how diverse we are with our learning paths as well. And I'll leave it there.
Thank you.
All right. There are a number of comments, questions. One interesting one from Professor Garcia Mayo from the University of the Basque Country. Have you ever thought of carrying out a study that compares groups, one of which is allowed to use artificial intelligence and the other is not? This would be in order to check whether, language learning is aided by the use of artificial intelligence or not.
We have there a master thesis, a PhD dissertation idea. Excellent. Yes. We need to embrace it. We need to embrace it and document the research behind it, right? Absolutely. Like, I just return the comment by saying, do it, right? Do it. I think we need to do it, to document it, whether blocking it and allowing it, maybe three different interventions, right? One class, one course section will allow it moderately. The other one will not allow it at all. And the other one will be more restrictive, moderate, and permissive, right? I can anticipate that the class that is not allowed, they will produce artificial intelligence material because we block it. We know that sometimes when we prohibit things, we do it too. We do it no matter what. And it's very actually a follow-up for this with an AI detector. With 3 classes, with the results, we can see similarities in this. May I share an example of something that one of my teachers, may I share this, Julio? I'm good with time. May I share an example?
Yeah.
There's no problem with the time, no.
Okay.
It's so interesting.
So this is a funny story that it was not funny for the instructor, but it was funny to me, right? Because I'm not an instructor. So one instructor approached me saying that he thought that his students were using artificial intelligence or Google Translator in assignments, in just little descriptions, journal postings in an online class. And he asked me for permission of doing something to trick them. I said, what do you mean by trick them? What are you going to do? I said, do I have your permission to actually test to see if they're using artificial intelligence? I said, sure, right? Sure. So this is what he did. He wrote a prompt in English with Times New Roman, black font, right? He wrote a prompt saying, describe an adventure that you enjoyed in the past, something like that. Describe an adventure. And he actually wrote in parentheses some examples, like you may want to talk about this. And he wrote the word dog, a very, very short 3 letters word. And he wrote the word dog in white ink, right? Like it was pasted, everything was in black, but that word, a human being could not read that one, but it was there in the prompt. Students cut and paste the prompt and ask AI to write a paragraph in Spanish about that. And he came back with lots of evidence of students, many of them writing about dogs. Many of them. And he was very upset. He was very, very troubled himself. And he said, I didn't do it because I wanted to trick them, but I want to show them that this is ethics. And he said, this is what I did. I deleted the word dog, but it was there. And all you did was you cut and pasted, you put it on the artificial intelligence tool, and everybody was talking about their dogs. And he made a comment about, wow, everybody has a dog. And everybody remembers like an interesting journey or something like that, a trip with a dog. And he disclosed what happened. He took it as a learning opportunity for students to actually say, this is ethics. What are you doing, right? So it was funny at first for me to say, oh my God, what did you do? But it was not funny to him. But he took it as a moment to actually tell students, hey, we're losing trust. You're losing your credibility with me. I can't trust you. That was a very nice, I hope it's a nice example of this, right?
Eva, Jenny Foley asks, she comments that she's been using artificial intelligence for activity prompt generation, but it's been so useful to see the results you can get by being specific in telling AI exactly what you want to cover in class, how you want to test it, assess the results. So the key word here seems to be, exactly like this accuracy story, right? Like,
yes, be specific, be very specific, and say, but I want this and this, that, and that, and that, and that, and it's smart enough to actually follow you with the conversation. It is. For those of you who are administrators, it has a very nice potential of student teaching reports. Very good. Very good with an Excel. If you send the artificial intelligence an Excel with a summary of a teaching effectiveness of whatever it is, it can prepare sophisticated teaching reports in an hour. You have 25. But you have to actually train yourself to do this, to feed the request. For instance, I'll give you the example with this. I have to ask instructors to give me 4 criteria when they're assessing their own teaching themselves. My teaching evaluations, then another one saying what kind of activities I did in class this semester, what kind of innovations. And then I have a paragraph for each, right? And it's a very good starting point. Julio, for instance, in your case, Eva is talking today. I asked her for a CV, prepare a 1-paragraph summary, mention her title, include a summary, a quantitative summary of publications, highlight a couple of them, give me an example of a very recent presentation that she did about the topic in a minute, less than a minute. So I invite you to play with it.
Two comments, one related to this and another one related to, yeah, it's all related to accuracy. So one of them is, so for instance, your, no offense at all, but your, as you know, your name and your last name are not particularly distinctive, right? So do you have to give the machine, I mean, I'm a little bit ignorant in this regard because, you know, the more specific your last name is, the easier, but the more data I give, right? Professor, yes. Spanish, yes. New Mexico, yes. The more they will be able to focus on you, right? The system.
Yes.
So I guess I've answered myself. The second one has to do with ever since I was a student of English, like yourself and like many of the people in the room, in the virtual room, I've been obsessed with collocations, with words that go with other words. This is especially for the interpreter, for Pablo, well, who is an expert on translation, so he will know what I'm talking about. Collocations are words that keep company, right? Things like pose a problem, or a problem arises, a problem comes up, things like that. I wonder whether this is an argument to insist on the importance of collocations, because when you use artificial intelligence, you need this accuracy. So I'm thinking of maybe using this as an extra argument in favor of using language accurately, right?
Yes.
Any language, your mother tongue, and a foreign language as well, of course.
If we, I don't know if you have seen the debate, the presidential debate, the very recent one in the United States, repetitively, like it was a series of examples of kill the bill, turn the page. That was such an interesting thing to actually listen and watch, right? And I did wonder, like, is this part, if these speeches are getting helped now with artificial intelligence? Because at specific moments in both candidates, there were this actually patterns of linguistic use. And that was very interesting. And that was the first time I saw it. I noticed, we're like, wow, this is like a very specific activity. So I agree. And that's where the more popular it is, the more results you will get, right? But you can have examples in language teaching about indigenous communities. If you say, for instance, with these artists in mind, with the way the colors, what they use in mind, with these artists in mind, picture this community, draw something for this community. You will see the bias. Why? For instance, here in New Mexico, Navajo, the Navajo language is more documented than other languages, Native American languages. Artificial intelligence does not know how to do that with not documented information. So the more popular, the more results and the more examples, but we can actually pass that saying AI is going to give you a draft that we're going to challenge and we're going to improve it.
I have a question actually, and then I will read another one. You mentioned obviously there is the beta version and the version you pay for, and that one, of course, is a much better option. My question is, are universities covering those costs?
Okay, that's a very good question, Julio. Some universities are on board with that. Some universities already have in the United States policies of use, and they embrace artificial intelligence. You can picture who they are, the wealthier, right? And the wealthier, they pay the license subscription for all the students. Now, this gets equity issues with other universities that we don't have it, right? That's a very interesting, it's is getting a lot of attention right now in administration. Like some universities, they don't want to have a specific artificial intelligence policy because they cannot even embrace it because the students cannot pay for it, right? Or they don't even have access to these sophisticated phones, for instance, right? It's a very interesting question, Julio. I think in a couple of maybe 2 or 3 years, we're going to have more universities thinking. It was the same with the iPads. There was a time here that all of a sudden private universities, wealthier universities, starting giving students an iPad for free.
Yeah.
But that's because they have the
Part
technology.
of the tuition.
Exactly. But that brings equity issues with other universities.
All right. We have a comment about the level, whether this improves or increases the motivation level of students in learning. How do you feel about that?
This is anecdote evidence, full disclosure with this. We have DACA students here, DACA Dreamers. Are you familiar with that name? Oh, Pablo, this is one of the words that sometimes is not familiar. Undocumented students that they have been here for long, and they are in the university. So these are students that they cannot study abroad. They can't go abroad. Artificial intelligence is the place for them with conversational partners, no judgment, students with anxiety as well. When they have anxiety to do public speaking and when they have anxiety to record themselves, artificial intelligence becomes kind of the comfort zone for them. So that's where I see the benefit of the engagement and also the sense of belonging. If you provide that kind of tool, they actually think that they belong to the university setting, that somebody is actually watching for them, somebody's caring for them. That's what I've noticed, but it's an anecdote. With anxiety, for sure, helps tremendously. I will venture to say that one.
We have a final comment by Katerina Valentova regarding plugins that have appeared recently. Have you tried if the content changes? Are they useful in any way, shape, or form?
Thank you, Katerina. It all depends what you're using it for, right? If you are, for instance, I was very curious and surprised and maybe a little bit upset, to be honest, when one university professor here in the law school gave an example of how exciting it was to have herself recorded in different languages. My uncomfort zone was with, but you don't speak that language. You may have the client, but you may not understand this client. You may not understand the culture behind this client, right? And I tried myself I recorded a video of myself speaking, and then I asked one of the plugins to be more sophisticated and actually include my voice speaking in different languages. And my reaction, I was scared. How legitimate could I sound in another language? Even that, what I'm sharing with you, you can share it in your classes because it's a human reaction to it. I had a reaction, not a good one, with, well, maybe we're going to be disappearing if that's how we're catching clients, right? Why are we traveling the world? Why are we learning languages? Why we're interested, for instance, in translation services too, right? But those plugins, if you use them, wow, I think we need to experience it. I invite you to experience it because you will be, whoa. And it's scary because children, they can buy whatever in TikTok from a person that they love and follow because that person is not even himself, herself, themselves. It's just whatever is whoever is saying. So those plugins, they can actually be scary for content, but you have to have some maturity to realize, careful, that's the ethics. The ethics needs to be upfront in every single attempt to play with artificial intelligence.
Yeah, sorry, so much food for thought, you know, and we're live, so wow.
Julio, I want to say that in all the webinars that I've been taking myself with this, after the speaker ends, there's silence.
Yeah, not surprisingly.
Silence. Right? Yes. So
right.
silence is a natural reflection or natural reaction of this. We are afraid. This could be a threat to some of the professions that we have. But I think if we embrace it as, let me identify what is the good use of it and what is the no good use of it. And then in the middle, I can marry that commitment in the middle. And the middle will alleviate some of the fear.
Yeah. Meet me halfway. No, I agree. And I think it's very good that students are aware that you are aware. In other words, you kind of become an accomplice in the sense that, oh, look, we're going to use it, but be careful because I'm very likely to detect any whatever plagiarism or any of the offenses that you pointed out during the talk, right? So I think in that case, it becomes your ally, and then students will be wary and they will realize, well, wait a minute, this person is they may know before you, but you know your stuff, right? So I think in that sense, you are kind of preempting which is good for our mental health as teachers, right? Because that's one of our big concerns. You know, my solution of returning to old school final exam kind of thing might be good for a syntax course or a class on maybe theoretical bilingualism, but obviously that's not going to work for language teaching, for instance. So yeah. Cool.
And reflection, Julio. Even though you have a final exam,
yeah,
ask for reflections.
Oh, absolutely. No, and I'm, you know, I had to sort of decline an invitation for a summer course because I'm a little bit too brave sometimes. So they give me a topic and I say, yeah, I'll do it. And then I realize, why would I present on this? It's not even my, but I think this might be a good excuse to work on what this could do for a theoretical linguistics course, which, as you say, has to do with reflection, maybe finding examples of this particular construction, like a corpus kind of thing. There are so many uses, right, that we could exploit here. But this has been very inspirational in that regard. So I want to thank you personally for that. As I'm sure most people do, and that we can see in the comments. If you want to check them, now I let you use the chat, Eva, because they are very nice and encouraging comments. People seem very grateful, and I'm sure people will watch this when it's on YouTube and they will appreciate it for years to come.
Yes, we are all very grateful, Professor Eva Rodríguez. A lot of food for thoughts, really. So interesting, impressive, and challenging at the same time. But thank you very, very much. We are very grateful to you, Julio, for coordinating this series. And as you have already mentioned, we will have this talk, the lecture in our YouTube channel. And thank you to our audience for your participation and your enthusiasm in supporting this series. Muchas gracias y buenas noches desde Manchester.